The government got in the school lunch business after World War II. 1946, President Harry Truman signed the National School Lunch Act after a huge number of military recruits were rejected because of malnutrition.
On February 18th, I will present in detail an economic program to Congress reducing the growth in government spending to reduce unemployment.
In 1981, President Ronald Reagan, looking to limit the role of government, cut $1.46 billion out of the child nutrition budget.
It will propose budget cuts in virtually every department of government.
Many schools got rid of their cooking equipment and turned to the food industry to make lunch cheap and simple. Kid-friendly favorites that could be heated and served. In 2006, 80% of all high schools operated under exclusive contracts with soda companies. And by 2012, more than half of all U.S. school districts served fast food.
The food industry infiltration of the schools is deplorable. The schools have become dependent on the money, and it's a bargain with the devil. Some schools have become like a 7-Eleven with books.
We are thrilled to be here with all of you as I sign the Healthy, Hungry-Free Kids Act, a bill that's vitally important to the health and welfare of our kids.
In 2010, President Barack Obama signed the bill authorizing the USDA to come up with new standards for the federally funded school lunch program in an effort to make it healthier.
This had the effect of possibly eliminating pizza from school. Well, Schwan Company in Minnesota is a $3 billion private company which accounts for 70% of the pizza market in the U.S. school lunches. They could not have pizza eliminated from school. So their senator in Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, wrote a letter to the Department of Agriculture to protect their frozen pizzas in school lunches. It had kind of a complicated process where the effect was to count a slice of pizza as a vegetable.
It's common sense. It's not a vegetable. What's next? Are Twinkies going to be considered a vegetable? Rather than having a deliberative effort, we have special interests inserting these provisions into these bills contrary to the public health.
In terms of the pizza issue, we proposed a set of guidelines, and Congress essentially suggested that they wanted a slightly different approach.
Was that frustrating for you?
Well, it's a little frustrating, sure. But, you know, at the end of the day...
Tomato paste is a vegetable?
Well,
really?
Not in my household, but you know, I mean, somebody could probably make the scientific argument that it is, but it's not how I perceive a vegetable.
By 2012, the revised regulations were issued. The USDA increased the lunch budget for the first time in 30 years by 6 cents, set a new maximum on calories, and doubled the required amounts of fruits and vegetables, which still includes French fries and pizza.
It doesn't look like the lunches have improved that much. They have hamburgers and cheeseburgers, chicken fried steak, and pizza today.
We have a main dish every day that is very healthy. We probably did about 25 of those out of like 350. You know, they kind of like, now I'll have the pizza, and they'd rather get fries, cookies, but you can't choose for them. They have to choose for themselves.
I don't know any child who would rather have vegetables over a candy bar when both are placed in front of them.
A lot of these fast food restaurants are still operating in school cafeterias all across the country.
And it's not a good thing. I don't agree with all the new guidelines. I wish they'd gone a little further. We could cure literally 80% of the problem for children in school if we went back to school cafeterias where they prepared the food in the school.
Can I get for you, babe? Can I have a cheeseburger, please? You sure can. Thank you.
Have you lost any weight?
It's just kind of aggravating because my weight's not really going the way it's supposed to go.
When we release our children into the care of schools, we expect that they're not going to drink unsafe water that will make them sick. We don't expect them to breathe unsafe air that will make them sick, and we shouldn't expect them to eat unsafe food that will make them sick. The industry, I think, cares less about what they sell in schools than the opportunity they have to market their brand. We're paying a very dear price for letting the food industry act at will and recruiting our children as loyal customers.
Remember, I went to a preschool once, and kids were sitting on little chairs, little red and white chairs that said Coca-Cola. Well, what do they think? Well, Coca-Cola's good. It's part of preschool. I should be drinking more Coca-Colas.
Marketers want to start to target kids as early as they can. Studies show that children as young as 2 and 3 start to recognize brands.
The problem is they don't see any commercials for bananas, strawberries, zucchini, and broccoli. It shapes the whole way they think about food, what they think food is.
There have been attempts to regulate how we market food to children since the very beginning of the obesity epidemic. 1977, the same year as the McGovern Report. Consumer advocates lobbied the Federal Trade Commission, the government arm in charge of advertising, to regulate ads for sugar-laden products.
It's great! The executive director of the Federal Trade Commission says the group is slowly coming to the conclusion that television advertising aimed at children is unfair.
The cumulative effect of the thousands of hours of advertising viewed by children is that kids are being told the biggest lie they will ever hear in their lives.
It's not fair to use the public airwaves to encourage children to develop health habits and buying patterns which they will probably keep up in adulthood that are hazardous to health.
The FTC's proposed restrictions have been defended as vital to protect the health of America's children, and assailed as an attack on free enterprise, free speech, and as a dangerous intrusion by the federal government into family life.
Broadcasters, advertising agencies, and toy companies all banded together to prevent the FTC from regulating children's television.
And an official at Quaker Oats said one of the best uses of sugar he could think of was getting children to eat their cereal.
Big Food won the battle. No regulations were put in place. But marketing to kids really took off a few years later with processed foods. And with the advent of corn syrup, a cheaper alternative to sugar, the big food makers had more money to spend on bigger sizes with better prices, and on ad campaigns with corporate tie-ins and high-priced celebrity endorsements. Now food advertising is everywhere.
Giant Snapple? I know, it tastes just like regular Snapple, doesn't it?
Dr. Pepper's unbelievably satisfying.
We in this Congress have a responsibility to protect America's children from the sophisticated, aggressive, relentless marketing of junk food to our children.
With obesity rates skyrocketing, Congress tried again in 2004 to regulate food industry marketing to children. Big Food and fast food responded much like they did 20 years before.
When I hear this discussion, I hear marketing to children, which really you're saying advertising to children, and you're also saying it's all bad. And that's just not true. Ronald McDonald never sells to children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.